Today, we will teach you how to install a water float switch or a water level switch, specifically in combination with a magnetic contactor. Here, we have brought a magnetic contactor for demonstration. If your float switch is already installed but keeps malfunctioning repeatedly, the best option is to use it with a magnetic contactor. Or, the water pump motor takes a heavy load. This way, the float switch will not fail quickly and will last for a much longer time. We use the contactor to distribute the load effectively. Now let's demonstrate how to install this float switch with the contactor. And this is the tank where we need to install the water float switch. First, we will remove its cap and then make a hole in the tank. We'll guide you on what size hole to make. You can choose any suitable spot for the installation. Take note that this wire is 9 mm thick, so the hole should also be 9 mm to ensure the wire fits securely. Now, we will place the water float switch inside the tank and pull the wire out through the hole. As you can see, the wire has been inserted through the hole. Now, let's discuss the connections. You can see 3 wires, black, brown, and blue. The black wire is the common wire. The brown wire drains water from a full tank, while the blue wire fills an empty tank. At this point, we will cut the brown wire. As you can see, we brought 2 parallel wires from below to make a series of connection. The black and blue wire will be joined with these 2 wires. Now, as you can see, the connections are complete. We will cover them with tape to ensure that water does not reach them and the wires do not get damaged. Next, we need to adjust the level of the float switch. Once the motor is turned on and water starts filling the tank, we will make the necessary adjustments to the float switch. This is the distribution board. We will install a magnetic connector here and join it with the water flow switch. First, we will open the board and create space on its back panel. As you can see, we have opened the distribution board and also turned off the main power supply for safety. Now, if you look at the contactor's designated spot, the available space is limited. If we install it here, it will be in close proximity to the board. That's why we need to find the perfect spot for it. Once we've identified a suitable location, we will install the contactor and proceed with the connections. So viewers, as you can see, we currently have 6 wires here that we need to arrange. Out of 6 wires, 2 wires belong to the main supply, line, and neutral, one coming from one breaker and the other from another breaker. Next, there are 2 wires for the input supply for the water pump, and the remaining 2 thinner wires are from the float switch. That is, one side of these wires is joined with the flow switch earlier in the video. As you can see, these 2 wires are the main supply wires, and I have connected it to L1 and L3. Now, if you closely observe the contactor, 2 wires, red and black, have been connected here. Both will get the main supply from these wires and determined as input supply for the water pump. Next, we will proceed with connecting the float switch. Now, one wire from the float switch has been directly connected to the neutral, and the other wire has been connected to the contactor's coil. From here, the main supply will be provided to the coil via a jumper. Let me show you. I will connect this jumper directly to the coil. Now the connections are fully completed. Next, we will turn on the motor and demonstrate how it operates in conjunction with the float switch. Now, as you can see, the water tank is half full. We will adjust the float switch. When we pull the wire upward, Notice that the motor turns on and water starts flowing into the tank because the float switch has moved downward. Now, there are two ways to adjust the water level. First, as you can see, there is a weight attached below the float switch. By moving this weight up or down, you can adjust the water level. This adjustment determines how much you want the tank to fill. If you have a large tank, you can increase the level by moving the weight down. If the tank is small, you can decrease the level by moving the weight closer to the float. Since our tank is small, we will move the weight closer to the float switch to lower the water level. The second method for adjusting the water level is done by manually raising the float switch to the desired height. Here's what we will do. We will lift the float switch to the level at which we want the motor to start and then turn on the motor. As you can see, the motor has started and water has begun to flow into the tank. Now, based on how much you want the tank to fill, you can adjust the float switch accordingly. This will ensure the motor stops at the correct water level. Now, to set the float switch at the desired level, we will lower the wire gradually. As you can see, the water flow has stopped. At this point, we will lock the float switch in place. Let me show you how to lock it. We will secure the wire using cable ties to keep it firmly in position. First, one cable tie is tightened around the wire. Now we will add another cable tie for extra security and then cut off the excess tie. As you can see, the float switch is now locked in this way. The wire can move outward but cannot slide inward. This ensures the float switch maintains its level inside the tank. Now, as you can see, the contactor has moved downward and is functioning properly. When we close it, notice that it moves back up, demonstrating that it is working perfectly. Now, you can use this setup to control a single-phase motor. Here is its wiring diagram. This includes the jumper. These 2 points are the connection for the magnetic connector coil to energize the connector, the 2 float switch wires, and the remaining line and neutral connections. For a 3-phase motor, you will have 3 lines coming in, but the rest of the connections will remain the same as for the single-phase setup. I hope you found this video helpful. See you in another informative video soon. Click on the left or right thumbnail to watch our next videos. And subscribe. Thank you.